Hello and welcome to today's Radiant You online retreat workshop. We are joined today by somebody who I think of as like the queen of shining during dark times. So I'm so happy she's with us today. Say hello, Allyson Bright.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be joining you. This is my third or fourth event with Elizabeth, so we're old friends in bringing you lots of love and joy content.
Yeah, so before we dive in with Allyson today, first of all, as you can see, I'm in my studio, which means get out your art supplies. Now, Allison's always taken us on journeys that you can do with whatever you got. It's a great time to steal crayons from your kids or stickers or whatever. So bring what you got. If you've got a Cosmic Smash book, grab that. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Foley. I'm an artist and a creative catalyst. I help women overcome their creative blocks and get in touch with their inner creative spirit. And of course, we're joined by Allyson, who I've already started telling you about, but just to tell you a little bit more, she is the founder of Determined to Shine, an online community that focuses on using creativity, spiritual connection, and community to find joy in dark times. And the reason why I say she is like the queen of shining bright during dark times is because she lost her husband when she was 31. She was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. I can't even say the word, at 38. And she has discovered that joy is her superpower, and it really is. She's learned that shining during the hard stuff is not only possible, but necessary. And so when I was thinking about the theme for this retreat and what we're doing, it was just like a no-brainer to bring Allyson back on. And what she's going to be doing with us today is a practice to help us really tap into joy. So even when you're not feeling it, you can call up that energy again. So tell us a little bit more about what you've got in mind for us today, Allyson.
Sure. So this is one of my favorite practices for bringing up joy when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling gunky, when you're feeling like everything is over and you're kind of over it. And this is one of my favorite practices for those days when you're laying on the sofa and you're like, I'm not getting up, right? Because I think it's important that we all have the toolbox of things we can do to bring our joy and our light forward. And that's what's so awesome about this event, is that you're getting a ton of tools. But what I always feel like I have to know ahead of time is how much energy I need for each tool, right? Because sometimes I'm feeling kind of low or a little blah, and getting to my art table or those kind of things, it feels okay. But sometimes I feel like I just can't move. So the great thing about this practice is it will pull you out of the I can't moves, and then you get to go to your art table, or even keep this nearby. Sometimes I have people create little, I call them sofa rescue kits. If you're a person who gets stuck on your sofa a lot, you have a little bag right there that you can use. So because I think it's important that we are able to pull ourselves out, right? It's so important that we lean on the people we love to get us through hard stuff, right? And make no mistake, the world right now, we are all in hard stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, as Elizabeth said, I'm kind of the queen of hard stuff. But most people will tell you I'm the happiest person they know, which is always kind of funny, because they'll tell me oh, I forgot you have MS, or, oh, I forgot you're a widow. Because I was going to say I don't live those stories. Those are my stories. They're a big part of me, and they're part of how I experience the world. But we always have a choice to bring the joy forward. And that's what, my company's called Determined to Shine. That's what it's about, because life isn't always shiny, but we can always kind of seek after that inner determination to bring it forward anyway.
Yeah.
And
I really love that message.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I love that message of joy, just because I feel like right now it can feel hard to tap into joy. And also there can be the guilt, right? Well, I can't feel joy because so many people are suffering. And I think that experiencing joy, I mean, it's a radical act, and it's so important, right? The more that we tap in and the more we can shine, the more we can call others into that. And yeah, I was just writing something earlier about no matter how hard it is for you in this moment, or we can always find those little wins, those little celebrations, those little moments of joy within anything.
And that's exactly why I say finding joy in the hard times is necessary. Like when you're saying how people can feel guilty for experiencing joy, and I know that's a real thing for probably a lot of you, but it's precisely because there is so much suffering and darkness and frustration and pain right now that we have to find the joy, because that's really how we're meant to live. And I really believe that, you know, it is just so necessary to look for the light anyway. And I saw a beautiful quote this morning that was like, if all you're seeing is darkness, look around again, you might be the light. You know, and I really believe that's our job, to show up and shine, but more importantly, just to show up and try. You know, and that's why, like, I have days where I'm like, you know, and how long I'm willing to tolerate that from myself varies, but that's just why it's so important to bring this stuff forward and really just remember that darkness is temporary. And, you know, I say that as a person who's experienced a lot of profound darkness. You know, when my husband died, it was incredibly sudden. If you guys, some of you have known me from past retreats with Elizabeth or other things I've done, and my husband died by suicide, and it was terrible in every way, and we had no warning. That darkness felt permanent, but it wasn't. When I got MS, that darkness felt surprisingly even more permanent, because by definition, MS has no cure. So it felt like it would be a lifelong darkness, but it's not. You know, many people have commented on how they're like, man, you get happier and happier the more your body declines. And that's like a little bit funny to me, but no less true, because I'm more intentional with how I live, you know? And that darkness was temporary. So we're in a pandemic. It feels dark and scary and awful and terrible. And 2020. I get it. I get it. But it's our job to find the light anyway, because we are the ones who will end the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a powerful message.
Awesome.
So tell us about what we're going to do to really tap into that, to really
Yeah. So we're going to use a practice I call the joy memory practice. And this is a two-part practice, right? So we're going to start with a meditation in which I'm going to guide you to bringing up feelings of joy that you felt in the past. And we'll bring those forward, embody them, let it swirl around us and be all magical. And that's the part that gets you off the sofa, right? Because it's when you pull that memory forward that you have a powerful experience of reliving that joy and getting to experience things again and again. And I always talk about this, like when people are a little confused, I always reference, like, if you have an inside joke is the prime example of how joy memories work, because every time you mention it with someone, you kind of giggle and laugh. And my favorite example of this is I went to a football game with a friend of mine, and our team was winning like in a landslide. It got so boring because it was such a big win. And there was this napkin blowing around on the field. And he leans over to me and is like, that napkin has more rushing yards than the other team. And we laughed so hard. But then like 2 minutes later, the wind picks up and the napkin blows. And this little kid, like 2 rows in front of us, stands up and yells, "Go napkin!" And so every once in a while, like, he and I just text each other, like, "Go napkin." And then we both laugh. And why I love this example is the very first time I taught this practice, I kid you not, somehow it was at a live retreat. Somehow I'd forgotten to silence my phone. It buzzed. I picked it up, and it was him saying, "Go napkin," as I was telling the go napkin story. And I was like, this is now my favorite thing. Because every time I think of that, I think of the football, I think of him, I think of that retreat, I think it was awesome. And even just telling you this story, like, bubbles me up, because that was so much fun. And it was such a silly little thing. So we're going to pull up a memory in a meditation. So I'm going to have you ground. We're going to fill ourselves up with some love. And then we're going to move into a practice for recording some of those joyful memories in a way that you can play with artistically, because I'm all about playing with things artistically, and refer to it and create a little log of memories that you can add to on bad days and look at on bad days. And then you kind of have this double piece of joy that can pull you out just by reading it and by by adding to it. So it's really, it's so much fun, and it's probably my favorite tried and true practice. I teach a program where I go over a lot of joy practices, and this is my favorite one. So I'm really excited to get to share it with you guys.
I love the idea of having like a whole record of different joy things, because I know when things get really heavy, right? Like you keep saying sofa, but for me it's the bed, right? It's the like, I'm not even getting out of bed today. Don't friggin' pull the curtains back. I don't care how beautiful it is. Like in those moments, it can be really hard to recall. Like if you like, messaged me and said, hey, I heard you're having a bad day. Can you think about a time when you were joyful? I'd be like, no, there has never been any light in the world, Like,
Yes,
I know that's not true, but that's how it feels. And so having something that you're like, no, here, these are the moments, like that's powerful. That's a powerful thing to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we do forget. We have short memories. It's like, it's the same concept. We forget how strong we are and all the like most like powerful badass things we've done in our lives, and we're like, I haven't done anything and I'm totally worthless and I can't do anything hard and everything is horrible and I hate this year. And it's again doubly important right now because the societal message is that everything in 2020 is bad.
Right. Yeah.
And it isn't. That's not real. Like, we don't have life that exists in all one or all the other.
It's true. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and dive in.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So I'm going to have you guys just kind of find a quiet place and start by taking some deep breaths. If you have a candle around that you want to light, I love lighting a candle during this practice, but it's totally up to you. So just taking a few deep grounding breaths, breathing in and release. Don't be afraid on that exhale to just like make some noise and really let it out. Like, just let that bad stuff go. Breathing in and release. Continuing to focus on your breath, I want you to just imagine roots growing down from the bottoms of your feet and the base of your spine into the earth, just down, 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 all the way to the center of the earth. Just really growing deep and wide and anchoring you in to that safe, strong energy. The earth is healing right now. And so tapping into that, just allowing yourself to feel really rooted and strong. Now I want you to take your awareness to someone that you love unconditionally. This could be a parent, a child, a grandparent, a sibling, a pet, anyone or any being that you love purely and totally. And I just want you to focus on their essence and how much joy you get from loving that person. And just think about that person. Imagine your heart's connected. Imagine yourself sending love on that connection from your heart to theirs. Just beaming love at them, expecting nothing in return, just how much you love them. And allow that to just fill you up inside. Now I want you to imagine a time in your life when you felt really deep joy. This could be from as far back as childhood or even simply earlier today. Whenever you felt a magical, pure joy. And you don't have to overthink this. It could be a big moment in your life. It could be something very small. Just go with the first thing that comes to mind. And if nothing comes right up for you, then just keep going back to that person that you love unconditionally. But try, if you can, to pull this memory forward. When continuing to breathe deeply, I want you to put yourself back in the moment of that memory and re-experience it. What did you see? What textures, colors, sights, what was around you? What could you smell or taste? What could you touch and feel? Maybe you were hugging someone, maybe your hands were covered in paint. Maybe you were experiencing nature. And finally, what sounds were around you? Whose voices? What sounds in nature or in your environment? And just bring all of that up. And then I want you to just, for a couple of moments in silence, just continue to focus on your breath and hold every aspect of that memory really, really clear in your mind. Then I invite you to place your hands over your heart and just repeat either out loud or to yourself, "This is my joy. My joy is real. I can feel joy whenever I want." And then simply saying thank you. We're going to say thank you 3 times. And you can thank your guides or spiritual connection if you wish. So I'm going to say thank you, joy. Thank you, goddess. Thank you, spirit. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Then just taking a few more deep breaths, beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing your awareness back to the room around you. And when you're ready, opening your eyes to our smiling faces. So, how do you feel, Elizabeth, after that practice?
Yeah, I feel really good. I'm definitely like kind of bubbly and giggly, and that was the main theme of the moment that I went to. And I actually have a really interesting reflection on that moment, because I went right to the moment. And it was this moment that I got to spend with a friend of mine on a beach in Hawaii, and it was like a gorgeous day and the palm trees and the blue ocean and all of that. But the thing I remember most was us like eating this completely melted chocolate bar out of this plastic bag, like scooping it out, covered in chocolate. And the funny thing about that moment is that I would never have been on that beach with her on that day, except for all of my plans that I had the day before shattered. And like I was supposed to meet someone else, and they were supposed to pick me up, and their car broke down, and I didn't have anybody to pick me up. And it was like, it's funny because looking back, I'm like, wow, look how much joy I got from that moment that didn't go the way I planned at all, but ended up so much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, so often we think of, oh, I'm getting chills. Just like how sometimes when things get canceled or derailed, it makes room for something else, right? And that's really what we're in with this pandemic. And I keep telling people hope isn't canceled.
Yeah.
But, it reminds me of right before my husband died, like days, we were at an IndyCar race in Iowa because he loved car racing. And it started pouring rain. So we were so bummed because the the race was going to get canceled or delayed or whatever. And we were down in the pit area, and they ended up opening the garage and letting people come in and watch inspection because the rain was so bad. And there were only like 10 of us in there. And that was like a thing he'd always wanted to do, was watch car inspection. And I mean, he died like 4 days later, 3 days later. And I love that, like, he got to do that. And that happened because the plans got canceled, right? Like, it all got rained out. So I just think, you know, if you can look for those magical things, those moments can come forward even now, especially now, right?
Yeah.
So,
I love the other piece of my memory is like, was scooping this melted chocolate bar out of this bag. Because, right, we could have been really like, oh my God, our chocolate bar melted and life is horrible and all of that. But instead, it's like, I don't even know if I would remember that moment, because it wasn't about the beach and the palm trees and the crystal clear blue water. I can't talk. Crystal clear blue water, right? It was about giggling about how we're covered in chocolate and like, oh, how it melted and all of that. Like, that was the moment that was special. It was the connection moment more than it was the setting or whatever. So yeah.
And one of the things I love when I go through my little book of joy, which I'll talk about more when I flip the camera around and show you guys what we're going to do, is like, some of my moments are big things. Like, there's a birthday at Disney World, and, you know, when a friend asked me to be basically an aunt to her child. But there's a lot. There's way more, like, really silly things. Like, you know, a funny moment that a server had at a restaurant, or like, you know, something silly that people said, or the napkin on the football field. Like, those moments are what life is made of, right? Like, you know, the pandemic has allowed me to really look at my relationships and think about who I value my time with. And what I'm discovering is that, like, my favorite people are the people I laugh with. You know, like, I have one really close friend, and I can always count on the fact that he and I are going to laugh a lot about everything. You know, that's just kind of our style, and there's teasing and silliness, but there's so much like love and just like laughter. And that's what the fun of those like moments is, because I can picture you guys covered in chocolate and like how like that stuff like melts and you're like, oh my God, what is even happening right now? And like, you just have to laugh. I went on a cruise with a friend where like everything went wrong. Everything went wrong. And we still recall it as like the best trip we've ever taken.
Yeah. Because
it got so funny that everything kept going wrong. And it was just so delightful, because that's like what life is, you know?
Yeah. So I could chat with you forever, and get into the creativity, because I know people are like, they're ready to know what's next.
Yes. Awesome. All right. I'm going to flip my camera around. And
okay, here we go. So one thing that's really important to me is that for this process, you just use what you have. So I'm working in my little smash book that I've created from this strawberry shortcake journal that I got at a fair many years ago, a craft fair. And then I'm going to use these Tombow markers because I have them sitting here, as well as some good old-fashioned crayons. So whatever you want to use, you can use. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to approach this, essentially. Well, I'm going to show you one to go ahead and do today in your smash book, and then talk about ways you can kind of enhance this practice further if you want to. But really, for me, I like to begin, you know, the joyful memory process just by kind of doodling. And so I'm just going to invite you to make some like marks on your page. And I'm going to do this in a bunch of different colors, but that turn into like sections, if that makes sense. Like, you'll end up with places you can write things. And they don't all have to be swirls. You know, they could be any kind of shapes you want. I don't know what that is. That's not what I was intending to do, which is part of why I love mindful doodling, right? And, you know, I love to do this process with a lit candle, Whatever feels good to you. I often use an LED candle when I'm paper crafting. If you like to use spiritual elements in your art practice but don't want to have a fire risk, that's what I recommend. Let's see, what other colors do I have that I want to use? Actually, I have some more up here. Those are all very neutral. No neutrals for me. Ha ha! Let's get another boxy one in here. So really just any kind of designs that you like. And then actually that's the only place I'm gonna put that yellow. Haha, that's funny. Oh, I'll do this. And that. And that. So once you have your page into sections, this is where you're gonna like journal your joy memories. And so you can choose like one memory or multiple memories or however you want to do it. So there's a couple of things I can do here, right? Like I could pick like one vacation or trip and fill in a joy memory in each section. Or I could pick totally unrelated things, which is what I'm going to do because that's how I like to do it. I like to be random. So just picking out any joyful memories you have that you want to include. So of course I'm on the spot now and I'm like, what are my most joyful memories? Well, let's do this. And I like to turn this around just because it's fun. I'm going to put recording retreat sessions with Elizabeth. Because that's what I'm doing right now. And because we've done so many and it's so much fun every time. And then I'm going to put the trip to the zoo with the silly turtles. And that's like a fun inside joke story, but I don't need to tell the story. I know what that means, right? So like sometimes they're going to be sillier things like that, or little things. And here I'm gonna write that checks out because that phrase is an inside joke with a friend of mine. What else would I want to include? I'm just trying to think of really recent things. Like everything on here so far has happened in the pandemic, and I want to encourage you to think about what are some of your, good new joy memories? Like that might not be what you focused on in the meditation, but for this journaling practice, it's a great way to think of bringing that stuff forward. So, something else that happened is like, for me, I became a Reiki master, which is amazing because I get to do this like awesome energy healing work. And then now I get to teach Reiki online. And I did my first session a couple of months ago. It was like amazing. We do have another one coming up, but it just like, it just changed me so deeply. Let's see what else has happened in the pandemic. And I don't need to finish this right now. Like I'm not gonna necessarily walk. I want to get back so that Elizabeth and I can keep chatting because I know we love to chat, right? But I just like this idea of approaching it this way. And there are a lot of great things that have happened in the pandemic that we just like forget about. You know, and so it's really important that we don't forget to think about those things as part of our joy, right? Like, it's so powerful to remember the good stuff as well. So like I'm gonna put video chats with mom and dad, because one thing that's happened, like we started video chatting, and we never did that before, and I think we'll do that ongoing now, and that's like a really neat thing that's been very powerful to get to do that. So yeah, so I'm just gonna keep filling this in with memories as I go, and yeah, I'm sorry, I'm all like, oh, I'm like trying to talk to you guys and think of all my joy, so it's like just a little bit funny to me. I'm putting silly COVID testing memories because we have free COVID testing in our city, and I've gotten tested many times, and sometimes there just have been some amusing things. But I wore an Iowa Hawkeye mask one time, and he told me that only Badger fans were getting tested that day. Of course he was teasing, but just some silliness. So you guys get the idea. Fill in from your memories. And again, another way to approach this, because I'm going to fill in all of these areas with more and more as I go. Another thing you can do is fill in like something from every year of the last however many years, or something from, you know, every day for a week-long period, or whatever you want. There's a number of ways you can approach this, right? I just thought of another one I wanted to write down. Like, this is gonna sound funny, but like online crystal sales, because I bought some fun crystals online. I was gonna put like tarot chats with Pam and Lisa, life changing magic, because I've done some online tarot stuff, and that's been really cool. I'm actually gonna add card reading for Sam, who's a friend of mine, because that, and I put that in there because it's like it was tarot related too. Otherwise I could have put it right there, but that was one of my first card readings that I did like without the guidebook, and it was really exciting. I actually want to make it separate now, so I'm just gonna do that. There we go. Okay, you guys get the idea. All of a sudden now, of course, all the memories are flowing. And the other thing you can do, if you want to, once you've done this, if you want to add more color, like I have my crayons here, and I'm just gonna color in over the top of them in each section. And I did the writing first because I don't think that the black pen would write very well over the top of crayons. You know, so, and you guys can do these however you want, of course, but just a fun way to approach this. And, you know, you can do it however you want, but I like to put multiple joy memories on a page. Now, if you want to, it's also, of course, a choice to, you know, just focus your whole page on one memory and write a really long story, just like a regular journal entry. I like having these little bits of memories. so many memes. I love memes. Yeah, so you guys have got lots of choices here. I want to color in. I'm having fun. Okay, you guys get the idea. I want to like get back to what we were doing here. Because I've been at this for a while now. But you guys get the idea, right? So the other thing I just want to mention, this is like a really fun idea for your Smash book to do like a spread this way, right? The other thing you can do, and one thing I do, and I encourage all my students to do, is to keep a little book of your joyful memories. And I often just recommend people use these little index card books, and you can just write a joy memory on every page. And so like mine, which is of course not in the room right now, and since we're recording live, I'll go with it, but I don't want to make you wait. But, I've written down things like just in mine, like it'll say go napkin, like from that story, or it'll say, when I celebrated my birthday at Disney World, or, that time at Red Robin when the server brought us the kids' milk, and all these things are just little inside jokes and stories. And then sometimes, I might add stickers or do a little art in there as well. But I like this because I can keep it in my purse. And, the magic of the joy memory comes from both pulling up and reliving the memory, from writing down the memory, and from revisiting the memory later on in your projects. So you get to, you've had this joyful memory. You have this joyful experience that you had in your life, right? And what this memory process does is it allows you to relive it 3 times. Once by pulling it up in meditation or remembering it, once by writing it down, and again from reading it. And again, you can, every time I open this book forever, I'll get to keep reading these. So really, it's infinite. And, there's so much more to each of these things. Like, I did my Reiki Master training remotely, but I did it at a friend's house, and that person is now like linked to my Reiki training forever, and that was really special. Or like when we went to the zoo with the silly turtles, or finding seashells in the park by the lake. I'm putting so many I love yous. And I know that sounds silly, but that's been a big defining part of my COVID experience, right? Is growing in love with the people around me in all kinds of relationships, right? And it's just been a beautiful experience. So so this is what I have. I'm gonna stop talking now. Well, I'm not gonna stop talking, but I'm gonna flip the camera back so we can kind of continue. I'm curious to hear how Elizabeth is doing on hers as I've been playing here and talking to you guys. So let me turn my camera around.
Thank you guys for giving me a chance to share with you the memory process, and I hope you have had so much fun with this. If you do this in real time, or if you decide to create a book, like I can't wait to hear from you guys. Like, what memories came up for you in your meditation? What did you put on your pages? What are you gonna keep writing down? Because this is a process, like I was just saying, that you can use forever. I carry my little book around in my purse. It never leaves me. I use it when I'm anxious at the doctor's office, whatever. So, I really just want to challenge you to keep pulling these feelings forward and allowing joy to be that choice. That's what's magic about this. All you have to do is think of that memory and pull it forward. You don't have to get out of bed. You don't have to get off the sofa. You just pull it forward. And what I found is after looking through my book or reliving some of those memories, I'm just ready to go. And then I can get up off the sofa and out of the bed. And that's when the magic happens.
I love that message. So powerful. I'm loving my page. And I just want to share too, if you made your page in your Cosmic Smash book, something really fun you can do so that you're like, you can always access that page is like make a little tab. Like these are some tabs I've made in other books.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah, you could even write like joy, right? So you can just like turn right to it when you know you're going to read it. I love making little tabs in my books. So I'm like, I can go right to that thing that I know I'm going to want to come back to. So.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Thank you so much for being with us and sharing this practice. I'm really digging this. I want to like go get chocolate and smear it all over my page just so it's multi-sensory. Before we sign off today, I would love for you to tell our audience about your free gift. Allyson has this amazing free gift. So yeah, tell us all about it.
Sure. So it's called 30 Days of Art Journaling, and it is 30 days of art journaling. Surprise. So basically it's a class delivered via email. You sign up, you get an email every day for 30 days with a new art journaling prompt. You can do them in 30 days if you want to. You can do them in 365 days if you want to. There's no timeline. You can do your own thing, but these prompts are life-changing and powerful, and I've seen so much magic come out of them. You also get access as a member of that to the Determined to Shine Facebook group, which has thousands and thousands of people in it, but is still the most like close-knit safe place on Facebook that I've ever found. There's so much support and love in there, and really wherever you are in your art journaling journey is great. Like we have people who have never made an art journal that come in with a notebook and markers, and we have people who are like accomplished painters, do things like that. You can even keep working in the Smash book you created if you have more pages, like it'll work great. You don't even, like, I'm always about using what you have and just diving into the experience.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. Sign up, we'll have fun. It's no pressure, low pressure, and you'll get more of my silliness. So if you liked my silliness, come for more.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just want a present for all of you, like what a generous gift that is. 30 days of art journaling. I mean, people sell 30 days of art journaling courses for hundreds of dollars. So like take advantage of that. It's such a good time for more creative expression and learning how to shine no matter what's going on. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Allyson. Really enjoyed our time together as usual. And thank you to all of you for prioritizing your creativity and your self-care, and look forward to seeing you on the next session.